Welcome to the NFT Educational Series, episode number 2, presented by FLOLiO. I am your host, Jeremy Weber, and I am joined by my man, Dan Bondelak. Dan, how are we doing over there today?
Good. NFT market's very interesting right now. Because Ethereum went up a lot like the last 3-4 days. So we're seeing a lot of interesting price action. And yeah, so overall pretty good. How about you?
Doing well, yeah. It started Sunday. Things started to pump a little bit. We saw a quick spike up in Bitcoin and Ethereum, I know. Um, was it Do Kwon, who is in charge of, I'm blanking on which crypto it is, but he said that they were going to commit a whole bunch of money, billions of dollars to backing their coin with BTC, and that kind of
Interesting.
led to a bit of a pump there. So I think that has definitely played a part in it, and the markets are really weird right now. Like, I'm not sure what is driving all these prices up, but I'm not going to complain about it. And with NFTs, we're seeing very low volume so far this week. We've been, tweeting out our volume report every morning on the FLOLiO Twitter account. Give that a follow. But I think a combination of ETH price going up, and we were discussing before we started recording. I've noticed also when there are some big in-person events, which this week is NFT LA. I think that also leads to a bit of a pause in the market a little bit, as a lot of collectors and people who are spending a lot of money in this space tend to spend less time in the marketplace, more time doing in-person stuff. And I think that could kind of slow things down a bit. But we push forward. We're using this as an opportunity to discuss some strategies for minting, buying, and selling NFTs. If you watched episode 1, it was an introduction to the NFT market. Today we're going to get a little bit deeper into it with how you and I approach these 3 different areas, minting, buying, and selling. So let's jump right into it. As we get started, just a reminder, this is not financial advice. We're trying to give you, the way that Dan and I handle things, which I'm not going to say is the best way. It's our way, and it's, proven pretty well for the 2 of us so far. So with that
Amen.
being said, let's jump into it. So Dan, we're going to talk minting and NFT first. For those who are brand new, minting is when you get one directly from the project, usually off of their website. And it can be in the form of a traditional mint and a Dutch auction. Dan, being the Dutchman, I'll take the traditional mint and I'll let you handle the Dutch version,
Okay,
okay?
sounds good. Sounds
So
good.
a traditional mint, you'll go on the website, you'll connect your wallet, and then you will mint however many NFTs you want and are able to get. There are a few things to keep in mind here. Number one is, what is the total size of the collection? Some collections I've minted have been as low as 3,300 pieces, some all the way up to 20,000. So you have to be aware of the total number for sale. You need to keep an eye on if there is an allow list or a whitelist. And first off, how do you get on that? For some projects like Invisible Friends or Hape, it was all allow list, all whitelist, and so you had to earn a spot into those projects. That was part of the reason they did that was because those were very hyped projects, and they wanted to keep the gas fees down. The gas is going to be the transaction fee you pay when you mint a project. And Dan, I don't know if you remember last year when there really weren't a whole lot of whitelists, but gas fees could get out of control for some of these projects where you were paying like 5 to 10x, what the project cost to mint just in the
Yeah,
gas fees.
yeah,
So
definitely.
it seems like things swung from one extreme to the other, where you have to put in a lot of work to get onto an allow list, but that is one way to do it. And if a project has some that are allow lists, some that are regular mint, you got to be aware of that as well. So another thing to look at is if it's a companion drop for the project. So for instance, when Cool Cats did the Cool Pets companion drop, every holder was able to get a cool pet for free, and then there were additional ones available for mint. Same thing happened with Bored Ape Yacht Club. So that is going to dictate how many are available. So just because 20,000 of an NFT may be coming out, that doesn't mean that 20,000 will be available for everyone to mint. And so you need to keep an eye on that. Like I said, you need to know what the gas fees are looking like and how to, determine if that's going to play a part in whether you decide to mint a project. If it's 1 ETH, so let's talk, for instance, about, or I'll wait until the Dutch auction section. I don't want to steal that part from you. So, just keep an eye on those things, how many total pieces are available. And if you are not on the allow list, how many are you going to have a shot at? Because that will determine how quickly you need to act once the sale goes live. So that's a traditional mint. Dan, why don't you jump into Dutch auctions and any strategies you might have around those?
Yeah, so what JWeb alluded to earlier about gas fees and what they're usually referred to as gas wars, just because people want to mint, right? So, but if everyone wants to mint, then the gas keeps going higher and higher because people want their transaction to go through. So in the current day, people use a lot of bots, right? So uh, I'm not sure how these bots work or how they function, but these gas fees can go extreme. People can pay thousands of dollars in gas fees just to get like one from a single collection. So to combat that, people in the scene started using the Dutch auction more often. And what the Dutch auction is supposed to do, if it works correctly, is it starts ticking down like a regular auction at a certain price. So let's say this price is 1 ETH, and then it goes down by, let's say, zero point 0.1 ETH every 30 minutes or something, like, until it sells out. So there's a lot of controversy around Dutch auctions for them starting too high, and people what you call FOMOing in, which is like people are afraid to lose out. So what they do is like they're like, oh no, like I have to buy now because like at the highest price, because what if it sells out, right? Um, so this can create some really nasty situations. For example, Pixelmon, it's a project that launched a few months ago, maybe. I don't know. Time goes way too fast. They started minting at 3 ETH, which is, a lot of money. And 95% of their supply is sold out at 3 ETH. And I think the last one was sold at like 2 ETH or something, or like 1.8 ETH. And then the secondary plummeted really fast afterwards, and the founders got off with a lot of money, and everyone felt bad, right? Because they all bought at like the highest price. So yeah, another thing, wait it out a little bit. Don't like start buying immediately from a Dutch auction. Kind of give it a few moments. An example of this would be Azuki. I think they're at 18 ETH or something right now, maybe perhaps a little bit lower, but so they did that Dutch auction at 1 ETH, and it took 5 minutes to sell out. They had very, very optimized gas, so they used a system called ERC 721A, I believe, which is, I think, what they made, or like their developers made, and
Correct.
is now, yeah, and is now starting to get widely used in other projects. And essentially, this allows you to mint, and it's extremely, extremely gas efficient. So minting was smooth, and not a lot of people were burned. So that's great to hear. So that's my advice for a Dutch auction, and like what a Dutch auction is.
Yeah, so it's interesting because every auction is a little bit different. Like the Azuki one went really fast. When Bored Apes did their stealth mutant drop last year, that went pretty fast. Then, if you look at this last Saturday,
Yeah,
the World of Women Galaxy, that one started at 3 ETH, and it
went down to
it took
one.
a while, and it once it hit one, that's when the transactions really started to happen. So if it's something that you really want to get, don't be the first person to buy, and keep a close eye on how many are being minted. It usually shows that right on the page. 1,000 of ten
Yeah,
thousand have been minted, kind of a thing. So if that number starts to move, you probably need to jump in. And then we saw with the gutter juice vials a few weeks ago, that started at zero point 0.9. It had a floor of zero point 0.1, and a few sold early on, but then when it went to 0.1, they all went within about 5 minutes. So just keep an eye on those things. Have a price point that you're willing to get in at. And one thing, we've seen this a lot with the companion drops, with mutants, with the juice files, with World of Women Galaxy. There, you can usually find a decent like price ratio. And this is, Bored Ape Yacht Club is kind of the first one to really do this. So that is where we've seen it. Of if a bored ape is X amount, a mutant ape is going to be Y amount, and there's a ratio. Right now it's
yeah.
about 5 to 1. And so a lot of other projects we've been seeing with the Dutch auction of like, hey, this is how much the original costs. And so if it gets below this ratio, it might be a good opportunity to buy. Not that it's 100% by any means, but that's just one thing to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
So
so just real quick, if we were to look at Cool Pets and the World of Women Galaxy, the 5-to-1 ratio roughly checks out as well. So it's a nice to know.
That seems to be a good number right now, and that could obviously change, but we'll see. So those are some strategies for minting with a traditional and a Dutch auction style. Let's get into some buying strategies now. So Dan, why don't you kick this off with a few?
Yeah. So talking about buying strategies. So one thing that I really like to touch on myself is don't be afraid to make offers in wrapped Ethereum, and mostly for the reason that people can accept offers and they do so frequently. So the thing is, that often gives you a way better deal. So that's first of all. And another thing is, it's you should look out for people who repeatedly undercut themselves. So they keep relisting for a lower price. So they're essentially desperate, right? So they would really like to sell. So what you can do is make an offer, like a decent offer, right? So I'm not talking like hey, here's 2 cents, my offer is on the table. Now make a solid offer, and they might take you up on it. So that's something I like touching on.
So Dan, real quick, let's show. I'm going to screen share and let's show that because I think that is an incredibly useful tip and something that most people don't do, and it's probably costing them money. So I have the gutter dogs right here. You can sort by recently listed. So this is one thing that I like to do, and you can see. Let's choose this one for instance. So we see this gutter dog. As we scroll down, you can go to this item activity, and you can look at when it's been listed. Close out of it, it'll show up the listings. Now we can see that it was listed and delisted a few times. Most recently listed for 4, but then an hour ago listed for 3.5. So this could be a situation where you come up here, you go to make offer, connect my MetaMask real quick, next, connect. Don't need to show that necessarily.
That was a light flex, wasn't it?
Didn't mean to do that. But you can make an offer here, and you can wrap some Ethereum through MetaMask or through OpenSea, and then boom, there you have it. So there's a way to potentially save yourself some money there if you really like this item. So that's one really good tip that I like to do sometimes. I know Dan, you've taken advantage of that as well.
Yes,
So
sir.
let's talk on a more, a bigger picture view. One thing that you and I both agree on, I think, is that you should buy things that you like that, are appealing to you,
Yeah.
and that your buying strategy should be dictated by kind of what you're looking to get out of it. Like, are you looking for some quick flips? If you are, then a good option for that is selling a project before it reveals, especially if you can get on the whitelist. And we saw this with things like Hape and Mechaverse and Invisible Friends, where it cost, zero point 0.2 to mint, and you could have sold it for like 8 or 9 before reveal. And that is a pretty damn good return right there. You're not really, things aren't going to go badly for you if you can do that a few times. So that's one thing you look at, and also being in it for the long run. If that's sort of your strategy, like flipping is not for everybody.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's probably not for the majority of people because it's really tough to consistently, time these things and make out, ahead when you're paying gas for a lot of stuff if you're just trying to make quick flips. So
Yeah.
despite what people may say on Twitter or Discord, 90%, I would say, of people in this space are not good at flipping and turning a profit. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and not to mention, it's rough on you mentally as well. When you
Yeah.
sell stuff pre-reveal, and your ego gets the better of you, and you like have to check. Like, all right, so what did I sell? And it turns out to be like a rare one. It's rough. It's rough to have the right mindset to be a flipper. And I wouldn't even call myself a flipper just because I tend to hold stuff a little bit longer.
Okay.
But definitely, it's rough on you mentally, and not a lot of people can actually flip and make a living. So
100%. I would also say that it's good to be contrarian. And what I mean by that is if everyone is hyped up on certain projects or a certain type, like we've seen these cycles where
yeah,
one weekend it's all anime projects. Next weekend it's all, projects focused on females. Next weekend, it's all like the cute PFPs. Looking where other people aren't can get you some great deals, because a lot of people have the tendency to sell, a strong project that isn't getting a lot of attention to try to chase the hype. And if you do the inverse of that, if you sell some of that hype and you buy projects that are going down for no reason other than people are trying to get liquid to move it somewhere else, you're going to do pretty well in the long run. So that's something to keep in mind, is be contrarian and look where other people aren't. And Dan, I know you shared this next point. I wrote down here for us based off of a video you shared with me a while back. Warren Buffett talking about how diversification is overrated. Do you want to mention how that can apply to NFTs as well?
Yeah. So to my knowledge, so there's a certain amount of the diversification that's healthy, right? Like, yeah, you can have X of your portfolio on this and Y of your portfolio on this. But if you're like, at least if you like, the only way to really make money and a lot of money is having a lot of like money in a single project that does well, right? Like, yeah, you can have a lot of money split out over many different projects, and yeah, they may or may not move a little bit, but that's still a very small percentage of your portfolio. For me, I've got roughly half of my portfolio, or like 40% of my portfolio in Wolfgame. And that's mainly because I trust like their vision, I trust their building capabilities, their long game vision, the game itself. So the only way for me to get rich, or like, I don't know, make a lot of money, is for this one project to do really well. So yeah, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on what you think about diversification in the NFT scene as well.
Yeah, I think that, if you spend some time, reading a project's website, getting into their Discord, trying to talk to their founders, and if you can find a few high conviction plays,
Mm-hmm.
that is your best bet at outsized returns. Okay. Because if
Yeah.
you can only buy like one or two of a project from like 10 or 12 different ones, or you could buy three or four from like 4 or 5 different projects, I'm a fan of the latter, right? Because what I want to do is buy multiple assets from a project and try to sell them on the way up. If I buy 5 of something, I want to try to sell the first one to cover my total cost of all of them. Because then from there, it's selling for profit on the way up. Maybe hold 1 or 2 to see if it really skyrockets, like something, similar to what BAYC did. So
Yeah.
being able to buy in, as opposed to splitting, let's say you have 0.5 ETH to spend, as opposed to, buying 5 different NFT projects at 0.1 apiece, picking 2 projects you like and maybe buying, 3 of one, 2 of the other, or just finding one and going all in on that is going to provide
Yeah.
you the best chance to have a really good return on that.
Yeah.
It's fun to be a part of different communities, but I'll just be honest as well. From like you can only, if you're, using one of these for Twitter or whatever, you can only use one at a time. And me personally, I can only keep up with so much stuff. Like, I do not have all day to be in the Discord
Yeah.
and following along with 20 different projects. So if I can whittle it down to like 4 or 3 even, that's where I feel the most comfortable. And I think you're going to have, you're not going to feel as stressed out because you're not going to be missing out on so many things all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like Bruce Lee said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. That's
Damn,
me.
Daniel dropping Bruce Lee quotes in today.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
me. That's me at Wolf Game. I'm
what
practicing Wolf Game 10,000 times.
what an episode. I'm loving it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Just a few more quick buying strategies. An important one to keep in mind is, if you're looking to buy something, don't try to time the bottom. Okay. Keep an eye on, if a project's floor is going down that you want to buy, don't jump in right away necessarily, but keep an eye on, how many are being listed. Are people undercutting frequently? Make those wrapped ETH offers we discussed, and don't look to get the exact bottom of a project, because things can go down quickly, and as we see with crypto, they can also bounce up quickly and unexpectedly. So don't try to time the bottom, buy on the way down, and inversely, do not buy into FOMO. Okay, we've already mentioned it, but it bears repeating, because people get burned really bad buying into FOMO and being the exit liquidity of social media influencers. Okay, so if someone is pumping a project on social media, maybe look at their wallet and see if they're actively holding that project, or even worse, if they are selling that project, right? Like, if someone is out there pumping a project up, but they just listed all of them, that's a warning sign to me, and that's probably someone I'm
Definitely.
not going to trust. Daniel, any final points from a buying standpoint?
From a buying standpoint, I'd say remember that almost all projects are gonna go to zero eventually. And some projects just do it faster than others. Some projects do have that long game. But when buying a project, just make sure to have the right mindset, right? So if you buy a project, do you buy it to sell it like fairly quickly, maybe like a month from now, maybe a few weeks from now? Like, do you expect a project to last well on the long term? Because at the end of the day, there's so many projects that pop up, new projects that are gone in a month from now, like absolutely no volume left. So try, like, I know we said try not to time the bottom, try not to time the top, but approach a project with like the right mindset. So understand your own goals.
Okay. So I think that goes perfectly into our final topic, which is going to be selling strategies. I guess the first thing is don't be afraid to sell. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Some
yeah,
people will get paralyzed thinking that they can wait until the exact top. So just like we said, don't try to time the bottom. Don't try to time the top either. And the FOMO we said that you should avoid buying into is when you should be selling. Okay. So it's really easy to get caught up in the excitement of like, oh, the floor is going up, floor is going up. It's going to go up forever. No, it's not. At some point, it will hit a top, and it might be just be a local top where it has to come back down before going up again, or it could be just the entire top for the project. We don't know, but no one ever went broke taking profits. So
yeah.
I'd say that is the first thing: is sell into that FOMO and don't try to time the top. Daniel,
Amen.
we talked about minting. How do you handle projects? Say you got onto the allow list for a project. If you are able to mint, let's say 3 or 4 of them, do you have any strategies pre-reveal that you like to do? Do you keep some, sell some? Like, talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so definitely. So lately, or like more recently, if you're on an allow list, you're usually only allowed to mint a single one, which makes most of our strategies kind of hard. So what we tend to do is hold a few, sell a few. Um, so usually, like if you have three, it's like, oh, you hold one for long term or like longer term. You sell one pre-review and then you hold one for like a little bit longer. So
Yep.
what I do right now, if you can only mint one, I I wait for others to mint. I check out the secondary price. So let's say if mint is point 0.1 and secondary is point 0.3 already, like, it's hard to lose money on that, right? So you can mint if you want. You can sell it straight away. I usually don't. I usually wait on the team to say, oh, we're gonna review in a week from now, and then I usually sell like a day before, depending on the project at least. So I do prefer to sell pre-reveal, mostly because historically projects just do not do well post-reveal, at least on the short term.
Yeah, for sure. And your odds of minting a rare or a one of one are
1 in 10,000 or
extremely,
something, right?
it's extremely low. Like most projects have like 7 or 8 one of ones. So you
Yeah,
got like a 1 in 1,000 chance. That is not worth it in my book.
yeah,
Say you have something super high value that's going for 80, you paid point 0.2 for it. Your odds of minting are not worth, because you have to determine what do you think it's going to drop to post reveal. What are you willing to lose out on there? And does that make up for the difference? Like there are expected value calculations that go into this. And if you aren't comfortable making those calculations, when in doubt, take that big old chunk of profit and treat yourself to a nice dinner out, and then reinvest the rest if you want to. Do what you want with your money there. So I mentioned before buying multiple and selling on the way up to cover your cost basis. So I think that about wraps up all of these strategies here. So let's highlight one from each just as a closing remark. So from a minting strategy, being aware of all of the information that is going into the mint, whether it's a traditional or a Dutch auction. Know how many are available. If it's a Dutch auction, know the increments of price and time which they go down, and pay attention. For buying, be different, be contrarian, buy on the way down. For selling, sell into that FOMO and don't sell into FUD, and take some profits and have some fun with that money, because NFTs are supposed to be fun. This is not supposed to be life or death here. So Daniel, any other closing remarks for today?
Not really. Other than have fun, you know. Like I think so. For example, just a small story. My girlfriend, when she was new to NFTs, she was like, "Oh, I like these cute projects, right?" And at that time, because we went through a whole like cute project phase. We had like I don't know, you can name them like Little Lemon Friends,
Alien
Alien
friends.
Friends, yeah, you know all those projects. She was like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm mid like 10 or something." I'm like, "Okay, well that's a lot, right?" And lo and behold, and a month later they all go for like 2 ETH each or something. Like it's you know that's what JWeb says. Like be contrarian and like handle with conviction, and just have fun with it as well.
Yep,
Appreciate the art.
there you go. I think that's a great place to leave it today. So, for Dan, for the team at FLOLiO, please give us a follow on social media, like and subscribe to our page. We want to try to put out as much good content as we can, so the more viewers, the better. And we will catch you all on Friday for our quarter 1 review and our quarter 2 preview. Take it easy,
Yes, sir.
everybody.
All right. Bye bye.